So the next thing we're going to do is just going to show you a quick, pretty easy way to add a realistic looking rainbow into any photograph. So this is the photograph that comes with the tutorial, but this process would work for any photograph that you would choose. So the first thing you want to do after you've downloaded and opened the image is create a new layer. And then from there, we want to go to the gradient tool right over here. If you can see where my cursor is at, click on that. And we want to click right up here in the drop down menu. And we want to go the transparent rainbow, which is this one right here. You want to make sure it's linear, which it is right here. Opacity and all that stuff is like that. I believe he wants it reversed. And then what you're going to do, and this is the tricky part, a lot of people will hold shift when they read the directions and make their gradient go across, because that's the way it's supposed to be, and then they end up with something like this. But what it is showing you, and if you do that, hit Control Z, that's your undo feature. If you need to go back more than one step, Control Alt Z. But what happens is this line, if you can see this line, is the width of your gradient. So if I were to stop right here, then my gradient is going to go diagonal and it's going to be about that thick. So what we want to do is actually go reverse. So we're going to invert it. So if we want it to go horizontal, we need to make that line go down. So we're going to hold shift and we're going to click and we're going to drag down just a little bit. So you can see if I were to stop right here, that's going to be my width. I do not let go of shift until I am finished. Now this also is going to be too thick. So in order, since it's going to be back in the distance, we want to make it as realistic as we can. We're going to probably make that line a little bit smaller. And also another key thing is make sure that it is on a new layer. From there, we're going to go to Filter, Distort, and then Polar Coordinates. And then we should see somewhat of an oval shape, and we hit OK. And then from here, we can go up to Edit, and then Free Transform or Control T is the shortcut, which is a good shortcut to remember. You can make this kind of the size and shape that you want, and also move it. And the way it is in the directions, it's off to the right hand corner. So I'll stick with that, but you could put it wherever you want. If you wanted to the left hand corner, if you want to try and go up top, it's up to you. After you have that, hit enter. Then we see that right there, but it still hangs down. So we're going to add a layer mask to that bottom part. We're going to grab our brush tool, and with black on top, so if we don't have black on top, you can hit X, and that'll switch. That's a shortcut to switch your two swatches, foreground and background. But we want black on top because that's what's going to erase for us. And then we could do like a soft brush, which means hardness is at 0. 25 is probably fine. We could even probably make it bigger. We can always change that with our right bracket. And then what we want to do is we want to paint over the bottom part of that rainbow. And the nice thing about that too is if we hit X, put white back on top, and paint over that same area, we bring it back. So that's the beauty of the layer mask, is that it's reversible. So it's a way to erase without actually erasing anything. Then we're going to go right up here and we're going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, because we don't want, actually let's make sure that we are on this layer first, then go up to Filter, Blur, and then Gaussian blur. And we should see, and I think, yeah, maybe a 2. It also is going to depend on how thick you made your rainbow, but now it kind of blurs out a little bit on the edges. And then we want to do is change this blending mode. So right up here for this layer, we're going to go change it from normal to screen, which is going to kind of give it that light reflecting look. And then our last step here is to create a new layer with our paintbrush. And we want white on top. So if you have different colors, hit D. That's a shortcut to default to black and white. And then hit X, so white's on top. And then what you're going to do is you're going to paint in this area. And from there, it doesn't look all that realistic, but what we want to do is change the opacity to be about 10. It just kind of gives it that little bit of a sheen for like the water drops, because it is light reflecting through water. And then from that, that's it. That's your last step. You would save it as a JPEG and you would turn it in.